Hi there everybody, welcome to another video. On today's video I have this Mercedes C-Class. This is a W204 2014 model, and we're gonna be changing the oil and the oil filter in this car. And this is a petrol automatic, by the way, the C180. And I'm gonna start by, well, I've been running the car for about 10-15 minutes really to get it a little bit warm. It's not hot, just warm, and that will allow us to drain the oil a little bit easier. So I'm gonna start by opening the engine compartment by pulling on this red lever here. If you pull that, it will pop your bonnet open. I've already done it, so mine is already open. So car's been running for a little while. Now we can switch it off, and we're gonna get this bonnet open. So I'm also gonna show you the right, somewhere here there is a little thing that we need to press and lift the bonnet open. So here. So I'm also gonna top up some screen wash fluid, and we're gonna check the coolant level and percentage of antifreeze, and then we can get the car up and drain our oil, but also we're going to tackle the filter. So let's start by topping up some screen wash fluid, which I don't really have that much, but I'm gonna get another bottle in a minute. Screen wash fluid goes here. If you didn't know, this is to wash your windscreen with the jets that, you know, spray water onto the windscreen, and then you use your wipers to wash the windscreen. And we want to top this up with the proper liquid, because if you just top it up with water and you get into freezing conditions, that water will just freeze, and then you will not have any water coming out to clean your windscreen. Also, if it's just water in there and it's really freezing conditions, that water will freeze and it might expand and crack your tank as well. So overall, it can cause a lot of damage. And putting there washing up liquid mixed with water doesn't help either. The washing up liquid is really foamy because it's specific for washing plates and whatnot. And if you spray that on your windscreen, it gets really messy, so don't do that. Just get the proper fluid. You can buy it concentrated or ready mixed, and keep it in your boot or luggage compartment, and you can then always keep your tank full. Especially if you use the car a lot in motorways and in rainy days or winter, that will go very quickly. So you want to keep one at hand. And obviously, if you don't use the car that much, then it would last a while. Right, so I'm just gonna get another one of these and fill that up. Okay, I finished topping that up, so now we can close this, and we are done with that. So we can move on to the coolant level and percentage of antifreeze. For the percentage of antifreeze, we're gonna use this Worth little gadget here, and we want to open this cover. So again, if the car's been running a lot and it's really hot, be careful if you're gonna open that. Just make sure you press it as you open it, or just let the car cool down for a bit, and you avoid yourself any issues, because you don't want have any scalding on your skin. So in my case, obviously the car wasn't that hot, so it's fairly safe to open that cap. Now I'm just going to shine a light in here, and you can see the coolant. You can just see it shining, sort of greenish bluish color, and you can also see where more or less my coolant is. even without shining that light, you can see my coolant is around here. And if you didn't have any coolant, this tank will look that color, just white. So that's a big clue if there was no coolant here at all. And if there was no coolant here, then you would want to obviously check for any leaks that you may have around. When you shine a light in there, you can see a little bit clearer on the side. That's our coolant. Now, ideally, coolant normally it's around this line here. So technically it would be a little bit higher than that. That's where I normally always have it. So I just wanted to show you in the manual, it more or less tells you how to check the coolant, how to open the cap and all of that, obviously. And it says number 3 here, there is a, if the coolant is at the level of marker bar number 3, in the filler neck, when cold, there is enough coolant in a coolant expansion tank. So so it more or less tells you here how to check your coolant in here. So you can just see that there, just the neck of that, where that white area there meets the black area. So this particular one is a little bit low, and we can top that up a little bit so it is within the center line between the black and the white there. But it's not low enough to think that there is a leak somewhere. And now with this gadget we can check our percentage of antifreeze, which says this antifreeze is got enough to withstand up to minus 35 degrees. So it would have to be minus 36, 38, I don't know, in order for this liquid here to freeze. And by the way, this little gadget also sort of shows you more or less the color of the antifreeze here, which is a little bit bluish, and also you can see it's nice and clear in there, so there is no contamination, even though technically the manual states the coolant should be replaced every 2 years, but that doesn't always happen. So that's why it's worth checking it, making sure it's nice, make sure it's clean, because corrosion can form, obviously. But that's the next point I was going to make, that if you only have water in this tank and you only have water running through your engine, corrosion will form. So that's why we put coolant in the system to avoid corrosion. And the percentage of how much you put, it depends a little bit on where you live, because if you live in the North Pole, it'll be very cold and the minus 35 won't be enough. This will have to be at about minus 50 or I don't know, minus 60, I don't know the temperatures up there. But if you're in a very hot country, then you can have it at minus 10 or minus 15 perhaps, but you still want to have coolant in the system because it's got minerals and whatnot to protect the engine from corrosion. Still recommended to change it every 2 years in order to keep your engine nice and corrosion free. So anyway, I'm pretty much happy with the level of my coolant and the percentage of antifreeze, although I do have a little bit of blue coolant somewhere, so I will be adding a little bit later so I can be in line there. So that line there is basically the line that I was saying, between this side and this side. Then we can close this and it will lock like that. Once it's locked, you don't force it anymore, otherwise you will damage it. And now we can move on to our oil and oil filter, which brings me to the next point here. For oil, we have this is a C180 blue efficiency. So the blue efficiency takes 6 liters of oil, and then you have the other models here, 5.5, 7 liters. If your model is not listed here, it says all other models 6.5 liters, and it gives you here a range of this little picture here shows you the oil viscosity that you can choose depending where you live. So I'm using 5W30, which is the one I normally use. Shown in there you have 5W40, 5W50. These oils can sort of work okay along these temperatures here, which is minus 15 to plus 30. And obviously if you have if you live in a hot country, maybe you go towards the thicker oils. Like here, if your temperatures are between 5 degrees, minus 5 and plus 30, maybe you go with 10W30 or some here. Or if your country is very cold, then you go with these oils, which are a bit thinner. Anyway, in the UK, we're sort of somewhere in the middle, so I always use 5W30. And also they do recommend, here it is, for petrol engines, the approved oil would be 229.1 to 9.3 or ACEA A3. For diesel engines, it's these ones here, or ACEA C3. Even though C3 also does petrol, but obviously A3 it's recommended. But you can find here that 22951, it's 22951 refers to C3. Well, anyway, having said that, here's my oil filter, by the way. This is the filter I'm going to be using, Hengst E818H. Just make sure you get the correct filter for your vehicle. Sometimes they are slightly different depending on the model or year of your car. Even if it's a W204, it might be slightly different. So always go by the reg. The procedure of service is going to be the same. So you just have to use your initiative a little bit, just in case something's... In any case, the only difference will be with the sizes of that we use for removing the filter, really. The sun plug bolt is always like a 13 mil on Mercedes. So anyway, let's get on with doing our oil. So I'm gonna start by opening this oil filler cap here, and also I'm gonna pull the dipstick. This is going to allow a bit of air into the system, and then we can drain the oil from underneath a little bit easier. And also we're going to tackle our filter. Right, the filter is sitting just there. So our oil filler cap is just there, and the filter is here in sort of in front of the engine. And we're going to use one of these. This is a 27 mil socket to take that out. Okay, so that's now loose, but I'm gonna leave it there for a few minutes, 5 minutes maybe, just to let it drain a bit. Otherwise, if I pull it out, some oil will drip around. I mean, you can always take it out, try to get it out fairly quickly and put some paper underneath, but you're always gonna get stuck somewhere and some oil will drip, make a little mess somewhere. So let's just wait 5 minutes. Take that filter out now, and we are going to take care of this once we're gonna get the car up, while the oil is draining. We'll take care of this. And if you're working outside where all the elements are around such as rain, or I don't know, it's windy and anything can go in there, that's a very exposed area, so you can put some paper or something to cover it in the meantime, so nothing goes in there and you keep it free from elements basically. Right, so now I'm gonna get the car up and we can drain the oil from underneath. So looking at the car from underneath, we want to remove this cover here, which will expose our sump, and we can then drain the oil. So we have 8mm bolts. I think there is 6 of them. So the size is 8mm, not we have 8 of them. Well, what can I say? There was actually 8 of those 8mm screws, really. That's what they are. Now I'm gonna get an oil pan to catch the oil. And just remember again, if your engine's been running a lot, the oil can be very hot, so you don't want to burn yourself, so be careful with that. Okay, so 13mm socket. If you have a ratchet that is a little bit long like this, it might not fit. So I'm gonna use a skinny one instead. So 6 liters will be draining out of there, and in the meantime we can take care of our filter right here. So this part just pulls out like so, and then we have the O-rings we want to remove, like this one. So you should have new ones in your filter kit. Right, just get this, trying not to injure myself here. Okay. And there's one more, just this one here. Okay, so in your kit you're gonna have new O-rings, so just fit the new O-rings in the same place they come out from. By the way, I cleaned this oil filter housing here. I cleaned it with a bit of a brake cleaner, so just rinsed it really. And we have these 2 little gaskets here as well. One goes there. and the other one goes down here. Get your new filter and just push it in there. And I just got a little bit of multi-purpose grease here, and I'm just putting it in this O-ring here around. This will just help when we screw this back on. It will help this O-ring slide without getting caught or damaged. Just put a little bit on these ones as well. You can also grab a bit of the oil that is dripping from there and put it on the O-rings. No big deal. Or you can use some of the new oil. So this is now ready to go back in. And our oil has been dripping for some time now. And I also have a new copper washer here. So we can take the old one out, get the new one in. It's not the end of the world if you haven't got a new one. I have reused mine in the past and I never really had a leak. But if you're gonna get a new one, this is the size 14 by 20 by 1.5. It's this specific copper washer that fits usually Mercedes. I've got a torque wrench. I've been using a torque wrench lately on my videos to torque the sump plug bolt, just to encourage people to, if it's the first time you're doing your car or you're only doing one car, it's a good idea to have a torque wrench so you don't damage this bolt or the sump there, because that would be tragic. So I've got my torque wrench set to 33 Newton meters, so you can torque that between 30 and 35 Newton meters. And that's it, not a lot of force at all. And now I'm gonna use some brake cleaner, rinse the area here, rinse the area there, wherever the oil went, clean it and leave it nice and clean as you found it. That way next year when you check this, if there's any oil there, then you know it's not from what you left, but it could be oil dripping from somewhere. So obviously if you get into a routine of that, then you will always know that you always cleaned it. And now we can put the cover back on. Okay, now I'm gonna lower the car and we can top up some oil and put our filter back in. Okay, no rocket science to what we're doing here. Put your filter, your nice new filter, into that housing there, and put it in by hand as much as you can. Then it's gonna reach the point where it's a bit hard because the rubber, the O-ring is there. So then you can use your ratchet and just in there on top of this filter cover, it says 25 plus 5 Newton meters. So 25 Newton meters will do for this. But I'm not using my torque wrench for this, but you should use it if you don't do this all the time. Okay, that is in place, nice and secure. Our sump plug bolt is in place, nice and secure. Now we can top up some oil, and we're also going to use our dipstick as a reference here. I'm just going to clean it. So your dipstick has 2 marks there. If you can see, a minimum and a maximum. So obviously we're aiming to be at the max, which is somewhere up here. If I can hold this there, maybe somewhere up here. This side will be the minimum, the maximum. Obviously, I'm gonna put in 6 liters of oil, and then we can check our dipstick. And the dipstick will show a little bit higher, a little bit more oil, because once we run the engine, some of the oil will go into the oil filter, and it will stay there. And sometimes it's up to 300 and 500 mils that stays in there. So that there is 5 liters of oil. I would really recommend using Castrol or Mobile One, and obviously I'm using 5W30, and you can choose your viscosity according to where you are, as we saw on the chart earlier on. But yes, so that's 5 liters, and I need to put 1 more liter, and then we can check our dipstick. Okay, I've got my 6 liters in there. We can put that cover back in there, and now we're gonna check the dipstick. And perhaps you can see the shiny area there. You can see my oil is a little bit, is where the max mark is, well, the actual letters are. So the oil is supposed to be somewhere here rather than here. So that will go down once we run the engine. But I'm happy with that level. So we can put our dipstick back in there, and now we can get the car going and make sure everything is running fine. And also when I first start the car, I just like to make sure there's no oil warning lamps coming on in here. So get the car going, no warnings going on in here. It's just a few seconds really. And then you can go to the area of the engine bay, have a quick look underneath, make sure there's no oil dripping, anything obvious obviously. I always like to recap that I tighten the filter, I close the cap, I close the dipstick, and obviously I tighten the bolt, sump plug bolt underneath. And we're pretty much done. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna switch the car off, and we're going to reset the service interval. Right, so I'm gonna reset the service interval. This car, it's due. Let me just get the ignition on here. And let me show you the service interval here. It's shown in there. Go to Assist Plus, and it says next service be in 30 days. So we've done it today. And now if I come out of that menu, you just want to make sure that the mileage is shown like this. And we're going to switch the ignition off, and then right, to reset the service interval, get the key in your barrel and then put it in position 1. Then press the phone button and the OK button here. So first you press the, this is like the answer button. So you first press that and then the OK button and hold it for a little while. And then a menu will come up there that says Vehicle Data, Roller Test, Assist Plus. You then want to go down with these arrows here to Assist Plus. So if I can go in a little bit with the arrows, I'm going to Assist Plus, then I'm going to press OK, and then it says service data, full service, go to full service, press OK. Go down to confirm service, press OK. And then it's going to ask you to choose the oil grade that you use. In this case, I used 22951. I'm going to press OK. And then it says service carried out. Yes. And then it says cannot be undone. So either you cancel it or you confirm. So I'm going to confirm. And then it says full service completed. And now we can just come out of that menu. Put your ignition in position 2. Go to, let me just get this a little bit closer. So now we're going to go to service again. And then go down to assist plus. And now the next service is service A in 365 days. And with that, we have concluded our service reset. So, if you have any questions, just ask. And we'll see you all in the next video. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. And thank you for watching.